Morning, everyone. I'd like to, before we get going, just to mention that we have a new member to the advisory board from Judicial Marshal Services, Sun Gwen. I'm not sure if he's on, but we're happy to welcome him along. Good morning, Sun.
Good morning.
Welcome
nice to be
aboard.
Here. It's a pleasure. Thank you, ma'am.
And if I may just acknowledge for a moment the dedication and commitment from your predecessor, Michael Knapp from Judicial Marshal Services, whose term expired. So we thank him for our service. So why don't we get right to the second item on the agenda for today's meeting? That would be the approval of the draft minutes from the March 2022 meeting. May I have a motion to approve, please?
A motion to approve the minutes of the March 2022 meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, edits, changes to those minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of the approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Great, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 3, which is a discussion of the 2023 draft report, which was circulated to all members for your preliminary review. And if I could ask that we report out on all of the divisions, starting first with Superior Court Operations, please.
Thank you, Judge. For the record, this is Sandra Lugo-Jinez. Since the board's last report to the Chief Justice in the spring of 2023 for its activities in 2022, much has changed in how the branch processes requests for accommodations under the Act. The branch examined processes, procedures related to how those accommodations were being processed and created new processes to differentiate between administrative accommodations and judicial accommodations. So these changes also bring the branch into alignment with how many of our sister states process and deliver ADA requests for accommodations. So with the revisions in those processes, the centralized ADA office of the Court Operations Division has seen its role expand in the delivery of services to people with disabilities. And our office acts as the primary gatekeeper on all submitted ADA accommodation requests and fielding inquiries from the public and staff. So to update the initiatives, we'll start with training. Seems to be, of course, the most important component of our initiatives every year, but even more important this past year. So with training, the revised process for requests for accommodations under the Act and how those requests are processed necessitated the development of new training for our members of the bench and all branch staff. So the centralized ADA office, with assistance and input from some of the different units within our Superior Court Operations Division, developed a new nuts and bolts of the ADA. It's a mandatory online training for staff and for the bench. And by the end of 2023, our online course had been completed by 3,953 judicial branch staff members. Additionally, under the External Affairs Division's Experiential Learning Program, 200 of their interns completed the training as part of their orientations. So also a completion of the training is ongoing, as all of our new hires must complete it within 3 months of employment. And all judicial branch staff must repeat the nuts and bolts class annually. It is the commitment of the branch to making sure that this stays refreshed in everybody's minds to meet our compliance requirements. Judge Support Services reports that in May of 2023, all newly appointed judges and family support magistrates participated in ADA training on their first day of pre-bench orientation. Later in the year, all judges and family support magistrates participated as well in comprehensive ADA training, which is focused on Title II of the ADA, specifically on the concepts of reasonable accommodation and fundamental alteration of the process. The branch continues to offer online trainings that are both elective and mandatory through its learning management system. And for example, we had our Judicial Marshal Services unit requires all new Judicial Marshal trainees to complete their Service Animals 101 training, as they are often the first person to greet the public at our facilities. In 2023, 68 JMS staff members completed this training. Further, 81 trainees and staff at the Judicial Marshal Academy received a variety of training on courses that are specific to or have components related to the ADA, including a training called Hearing Voices That Are Distressing. It is a nationally recognized training program in which users spend several hours in live training trying to negotiate real-life situations while experiencing mimic symptoms of severe mental illness. It's a very effective training. JMS also offers and presents programs on interactions at the metal detector with the public, including those individuals with disabilities. These courses help the marshals identify and assist prisoners and members of the public who may be protected under the ADA. Additionally, the New England ADA Center offers 2 online courses that are continue to be available to our staff. They're called Overview of Disability Rights Law and the Fair Housing Act, Section 508, and the ADA. And in 2023, we had 54 employees complete these online trainings. In addition, our centralized ADA office provided remote training on the basics of the ADA to new call center employees, many of whom are new branch hires, as they are often the first judicial branch employee the public speaks with. And also the ADA contacts, new ADA contacts are provided extensive written information upon their appointment at work and work closely with the 3 judicial district liaisons in the centralized ADA office. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike Hines for the CSSD training update.
Thank you, Sandra. In 2023, 1,650 CSSD staff members completed courses that did include nuts and bolts, which is offered in all of our pre-service trainings, as well as animal services or Service Animals 101, and the self-created and presented program, Autism and the Criminal Justice, When the Two Worlds Collide, which continues to get great feedback during the evaluation process. Additionally, the New England ADA Center offered 2 online courses, as Sandra mentioned. One of those, the Overview of Disability Rights and Fair Housing Act. We did have 54 employees go through that training. Due to retirements, I was contacted by Heather and Sandra for a new group of ADA contacts. Some of our senior staff that were supervisors that were serving in that capacity needed to be replaced. They were provided extensive written information upon the appointment and worked closely with the judicial district liaisons in the central ADA office to get into place to become an ADA representative. I did want to highlight, we do have an APO in our field who is hearing impaired and is offered a transcriber for all of this trainings through the CARD agency. When I met with Makisha to talk a little bit about this, she said it's been a huge help and it's extremely helpful to the APO that is hearing impaired. Some of those trainings are one-on-one trainings that we do offer to this employee, and lockup is one of those as an example. In 2024, the following classes have been identified and released by the branch: Judicial Employee Education and Development Unit. CSSD will be taking advantage of the upcoming release of these following classes: Hearing Voices That Are Distressing. That has not been offered since the pandemic, and we're happy to have that back in play. Additionally, Let's Play and Learn, and then an ADA speaker series, Interacting with Respect to Everyone's Job. Those are all pushed out by Court Operations Employee Education. Additionally, a webinar offered by the National Center of State Courts titled Breaking Barriers, Inclusive Communication for People with Disabilities in Court. However, our employees will just have to submit an external request form if they do attend this. One of the other highlights that I spoke with Makisha about is that our access accommodation statement has now been offered at the bottom, or is now part of the bottom of any of our trainings. So we have placed that at the bottom of all of our trainings that we're offering. Facilities update: in 2023, COSFAM closed 57 ergonomic cases for the CSSD staff. As of March 1st, we were working on 21 open active ergonomic cases for CSSD staff. Open can mean one of many things. We're waiting to schedule appointment. A scheduled appointment has not yet been conducted. We're waiting on HRM for guidance. The equipment may have been approved and we're just waiting to receive it and install it. But that's the update for CSSD, Sandra. Thank you.
Judge.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And Sandra, thank you so much for your update.
Mhm.
Laura, do you have an update from Administrative Services?
Yes. For the record, my name is Laura Javino. I'm Director of Facilities for Administrative Services. Over the last 18 months and concluding in December of 2023, there were two architect engineering firms that have conducted ADA assessments through 36 court locations. These are going through signage and the walking path of jurors and the public, and noting any improvements that need to be made. The teams are now entering all improvements into a tracking spreadsheet, and we will have a global view of everything that needs to be done statewide, which we will start working on making all the improvements to bring us up to ADA compliance. One of the first items that we'll be working on in 2024 is signage. We've had a sign that has been approved by the Chief Court Administrator's Office, so we will have one consistent sign that includes Braille, the correct font, and will be installed at the proper height, making all signage throughout the state compliant. We anticipate by the end of 2026 for that. We do have 3 million square feet of state property, so this is quite an undertaking, including getting into areas that are not always easily accessible. So it is going to take a while, but we will be starting that now. We've already started ordering signs and having signage assessments starting. We are continuing on elevator modernizations, which include Braille and audio enunciators in the elevators. To date, we have completed elevators in Bridgeport, JD, Middletown, and New Britain. We are starting GA14 in Hartford will be the next location. And then next on the list is GA2 in Bridgeport to start those modernizations. We have completed ADA client toilet rooms in the new Norwalk Adult Probation, and we'll be continuing on selecting new areas for ADA restroom compliance. So and also just to add, as we do projects and our construction, all construction that we do is up to current ADA codes. So although it might not be on a report, as we touch areas in the courthouse, we are bringing all areas up to ADA compliance that touch a construction project.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Any report out from ITD?
Good morning, Judge. This is Kristen Giantonio. I'm Program Manager over at the Information Technology Division in East Hartford. Our update contains the following. Over the last year, the Information Technology Division, Appellate System, Legal Services, the Office of the Reporter of Judicial Decisions, and the Centralized ADA Office collaborated to convert the practice book into an online ADA accessible document, and will continue this effort in 2024. The Information Technology Division developers check websites using the Lighthouse tool with a focus on our JUDCT.gov and other external websites. The Lighthouse tool provides an index score on accessibility as well as other data points. The division is modernizing its tools to help developers and testers utilize best practices in several areas, including accessibility. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kristen. Any other remarks, or anyone else want to add anything or report out from any of the divisions? No? Okay, Sandra, may I turn over to you for reporting on future initiatives, please?
Of course. In the aspect of future initiatives, again, training is one of our biggest components. Our centralized ADA office is reinstating the speaker series. Interacting with respect is everyone's job. Beginning March 2024, we actually just had our first presentation last week. The sessions feature people with disabilities discussing their challenges they encounter in everyday life and their experience. It includes navigating the court system, includes disability culture, etiquette, terminology, anything that we can do, any tips to better interact with respect with people with disabilities. Number 2, we have developed a new training. It's one of my favorites. It's focused on retaining ADA knowledge. It's called Let's Play to Learn. And, usually people learn better when they're relaxed, and it's sort of like a Hollywood Squares games, but it's really to re-emphasize and reinforce the knowledge that they have gained through the the mandatory online training, the nuts and bolts of the ADA that we created. That's the purpose of it. Then the Administrative Services Division will continue to provide Title I training to our supervisors. The HRM unit ensures proper administration of Title I of the Act for branch employees and individuals applying for positions within the branch. The unit works with employees and supervisors to ensure that qualified disabled employees are accommodated appropriately in order to support them in successfully performing the essential functions of their positions. And in 2023, the unit processed approximately 60 requests for accommodation. Also, the Judicial Marshal Services is expected to continuously recruit and hire Judicial Marshal trainees in 2024. With 38 trainees currently enrolled at the Judicial Marshal Academy, and they further will be providing the interactive hearing voices that are distressing to the branch's ADA contacts in April of 2024. Future initiatives under information would be the branch will be developing a brochure for members of the bar on Title II of the ADA, including information on how to request an accommodation under the ADA, especially now that we've had the processes have been revised. And I believe Laura already covered future initiatives for facilities. She talked about creating a science standard, and she talked about the modernization and upgrade of the elevators throughout the branch. And that concludes my report, Your Honor.
Thank you very, very much, Sandra. I mean, to all who reported out today, to all the board members and everyone involved with the ADA, your diligence on behalf of the branch, adherence to Title II of the ADA Act is so clear and commendable. So I thank you all for your continued support of all of these efforts. So now I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2023 report of the ADA Advisory Board.
Motion to approve the 2023 report of the ADA Advisory Board.
Thank you, Sandra. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lee. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you. The motion carries. So now we're on the point of the agenda to plan our next meeting. I think we were probably thinking sometime next year, this same, or actually, is it 2020? Yeah, next year, the same time. Does that make sense to everyone?
It does,
Spring
Judge.
2025?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean, do we want to set it now? Or
Judge,
send
if
out?
it's okay, yeah, if it's okay with you, why don't we send out a meeting date early next year?
Okay.
If that works for you.
Great, terrific. Is there anything else we need to cover today? Hearing none. Thank you, everyone, for your report outs today and for your continued support in our efforts to make sure that we fully comply with all the requirements of the ADA and break down barriers for all those who access the court system. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank
Thank you,
Thank you, Your
Judge.
Honor. Bye-bye.